I'm Caleb Black. I'm a 6th grade student at Chesapeake Middle School in Chesapeake, Ohio. And today I'm here to talk to you about grass fertilizer. So where did I get this idea for my project, you may ask? Well, me and my family had just finished sowing a large portion of our lawn with grass seed, and my dad had started using some grass fertilizer. And the fertilizer seemed to be affecting the grass growth little to not at all. So I decided I could test this through an experiment. The purpose was to generate an answer to the question, which fertilizer will make grass grow faster? The first thing I did was purchase my 4 grass fertilizer brands: Ironite, Bio Advanced, Scott's Turf Builder, and Stay Green Lawn Starter. Then I began my research. I went to our school library, and there I found word books. Using those word books, I looked up grass, and once I found that nitrogen was a key ingredient in grass growth, I looked up nitrogen to confirm my findings. I also did online research to further support my ideas, and these are listed in my report. Upon feedback from a prior science fair judge, I did further research and discovered journal articles which also demonstrated nitrogen as a key ingredient to grass growth. At this point, I made a hypothesis. If Scott's Turf Builder is used, then the grass will grow faster because it has the most nitrogen out of all my fertilizers at 24%. Next, I collected my materials. At this point, I already had my 4 grass fertilizer brands, so then I purchased 4 plastic pots, 1 bag of grass seed, and 1 bag of unfertilized soil. The next step in my experiment was to fill each pot with an equal amount of unfertilized soil, and the next step was to place 50 grass seeds in each pot, so that's exactly what I did. I placed the pots in a climate-controlled area where they would receive the same temperature and the same amount of sun every day, and I also watered each pot daily with a 1/4 cup of water. I waited 14 days for my seeds to germinate and start growing, and after those 14 days, I cut each pot to a height of 3 inches. Then I added my fertilizer brands to the pots, and after 10 days, I recorded my results. Since I wanted this to be helpful to future people sowing their lawn with grass seed, I measured the thickness of each pot by counting the number of blades. I felt thickness to be more important than height because it gave me an exact number of the blades. Because when a person is looking for a clean lawn, they aren't necessarily looking for height, but a full, thick lawn without bare spots. So how did I actually measure each pot, you may ask? Well, I measured the amount of grass seed by taking a pencil, counting the individual blade of grass, taking this individual blade of grass directly behind the pencil, and I kept doing this until all of the blades of grass in every pot were all counted for in their respective pots. I chose to measure my results this way because it gave me an exact number and measurement of the number of grass blades that each pot contained. Before I give my results, I think it is important for me to mention the many controls that I had in my experiment. And these include using the same pot, the same soil, the same quantity of soil, the same grass seed, the same type of grass seed, and I placed them in the same window sill with the same temperature and sunlight, and I watered them a 1/4 cup of water every day. Now for my results. My results showed the first pot's fullness at 54 blades, the second pot's fullness at 46 blades, and our third pot, our winner, which was Scott's Turf Builder, at 64 blades, and our fourth pot's fullness was 40 blades. I believe that my results were somewhat variable given the sample size. However, I believe my variability would have been significantly larger if I had started with a larger amount of grass seed. If you look at my graph, you will see my independent variable on the x-axis, which is the type of fertilizer. And then we go up here to my y-axis, which is my dependent variable, which measures the number of blades of grass. This demonstrates my results visually, but you can also refer to my pictures in my report. There are some issues with my experiment that I would now like to discuss. If I had to do it all over again, there are a couple things I would do differently. First, I would like to have added a 5th pot where I placed no fertilizer so I could use this as an additional control. So I could compare things like Stay Green Lawn Starter to see if it even had a negative effect on the grass growth. Second, if I were to do it again, I would have a longer trial time period, as my 10 days seem relatively short. I believe that this would have introduced a lot more variability to my data set as well. So why are these findings important? I feel like that when people are planting new lawns, they aren't necessarily looking for height, but that a lawn that's full and thick. I believe my results can help guide people who have just sown a field of grass, such as a new homeowner and contractor, and also farmers so that they can grow the best crop for their livestock and also potentially sell for income. In our family's example, I had noticed my dad using fertilizer after sowing our lawn with grass seed. We did not think it was helping. Interestingly enough, the brand that we were using was Stay Green Lawn Starter, which was our worst performer in this experiment. In the future, if I were to continue my experiment, I would utilize different soil types such as clay, sand, and other mixtures, and further down the line alter soil conditions such as pH to see what would also result in the best grass growth. So, in conclusion, my hypothesis was correct. Scott's Turf Builder is the very best lawn fertilizer. Having my hypothesis accepted and not rejected was by far the most fun and even surprising part of my experiment. Now, I would like to acknowledge a few people for helping me with my experiment. I would like to thank my parents for making this board possible and helping me with my procedure, and I would like to thank my school librarian for giving me access to my school resources, and my science teacher for teaching me the scientific method and all its individual components, and my prior science teachers for their encouragement and feedback. I thank you for the opportunity to present my project to you today.